Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Marathon Wednesday, where we take on the big old catalogues. And today we have got a viewer's request, and someone has asked for Chris de Burgh. Now, Chris de Burgh, born Christopher John Davidson in 1948, he's a British-Irish singer. He was actually born in Argentina to British parents because his dad was in the diplomatic service. But when he eventually settled in Ireland and he went to Trinity College, Dublin, that's where his music started. He started performing in very many bands, and in the 70s he started his career. Now, he's actually released 23 albums, so we'll get cracking today. So coming in at number 23, the 7th album from 1984, Man on the Line. So you got Chris de Burgh doing vocals and guitars. He's got Rupert Hine on keyboard synthesizers, Howard Jones, yes, Howard Jones on grand piano, Phil Palmer on electric guitars, John Giblin on the bass, Trevor Morales on drums, Jeff Phillips additional drums, Tina Turner does guest vocals as well. So the first track is called The Ecstasy of Flight, I Love the Night. It's all in very 80s, that cheesy keyboard, the guitar tones are very smooth. I don't like the track at all. Sight and Touch. Now this one isn't so bad. Okay, it has got sort of that 80s kick on it, but it's quite a good track actually. Taking It to the Top is the next one, very plastic 80s cheesy track. Everything I hate about the 80s on that one. The Head and the Heart isn't too bad. I like the piano piece in this. It's done by Mr. Howard Jones. It's pretty good. Then we have the sound of a gun. Now this is the one Tina Turner does the guest vocals on. It's not too bad. I think Tina brings her uniqueness to it. It's not too bad. High on Emotion, the big hit from this album, but I never liked it. Much more than this wishy-washy 80s ballady sound. Man on the Line, it just sounds very dated. But the best track on here is a thing called Moonlight and Vodka. It's got some lovely guitar on this, and it's not as 80s as the rest. And then we have Transmission Ends, isn't too bad. The keyboards don't sound too bad on this. Unfortunately, this is one of those 80s albums that hasn't travelled well. It's got one or two bits on it that are okay, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 22 is the 8th album from 1986, Into the Light. Loads of people play on here. So the first track is called Last Night. This reminds me, you know, the drum machine-y sound that Phil Collins used? It's just like that. It's not too bad. I must admit, I don't mind that one. Fire on Water, one of the best songs on the album. Although it has got that cheesy keyboard sound, it isn't too bad. The Ballroom of Romance, it's just an 80s pop, but what makes it is an excellent saxophone solo. Then we got Lady in Red. I can't stand this record. I love the film. It's got Gene Wilder in it, and it's absolutely wonderful. But I just don't like the song. It's insipid. Say Goodbye to all It All isn't too bad. One of the better songs on the album as well. Spirit of Man. It's got one of them horrible 80s cheesy keyboardy bass lines on it, and really smooth, awful sounding drums. Fatal Hesitation. There is an acoustic version of this, and I much prefer it. We'll talk about that later. Then we have One World Straight to the Heart. Pretty good. Though it's 80s, it's one of the best songs on the album. But my favourite one here is a thing called For Rosanna. I like it because it's simple. It's piano and Chris. No of that 80s production. Really nice. The leader. It's like Rosanna, not overproduced. Another really good song. And then we have The Vision. Love the guitar solo on it, but it's a typical 80s ballad. I think the last tracks are the best tracks on the album, and to be quite honest, it's just very standard 80s stuff. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 21 is an album from 2021, and it's called The Legend of Robin Hood. Lots of people on here. We get the Robin Hood Overture. It's just bits from everything, like an overture is. Then we get The Tale of Robin Hood. It's very pleasant, nice music. Really nice. The Wedding Feast. Now this sort of goes back to the very early days of Chris de Burgh. It's really good. One of the best tracks on here. Only a Child. It's alright. The Man with a Double Face. Really nice vocal from Chris. There's nothing wrong with that. Home from the War, Part 1. It's okay. It reminds me a little bit of some of his earlier stuff. It's pretty good. Live Life, Live Well. My favourite track on here is really nice vocal, very quirky little track. Home from the War Part 2, 50, just continuing on with the Part 1, so it's very short little bits. Open Your Eyes, just carries on from Home from the War. It's alright. The Arrest, it's a very folky sort of Steel Band thing, quite pleasant. Break the Law, a great vocal from Chris on this. In Sherwood Forest. It's alright. By this time, half of the tracks are all sounding the same on this album. The Speech to the Outlaws. It's alright. It's very short. Light a Fire, short little piano thing. Very Elizabethan, medieval type sound. We've Got the Money. Yeah, it's not very good. Then we get A Love Revealed, 40 seconds of nothing. Am I Falling in Love All Over Again? It's nice. It's a lovely vocal from Chris, and it's a really nice song. In Prison, that very good. The Duel, it's very sort of, as it is a duel, it's quirky. Where My Last Arrow Falls is a really nice piece of piano work on that. It's excellent. Man for the Ages. I wish this was longer because it has got that medieval folk sound to it. It's really good. It's only 53 seconds. Legacy is a little bit cheesy. It's pleasant enough. It sounds more like a soundtrack. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4.5. Okay, coming in at number 20, we've got the 9th album from 1988, Flying Colours. So Chris does the vocals and guitars, Adrian Lee on the keyboards, Andy Richards keyboards, Phil Palmer on guitars, the one and only Mr. Peter Van Hook on drums, and Chris White does saxophones. Sailing Away, we're stuck right smack in the middle of the 80s sound, but it's starting to lose a little bit of it. At least the drums sound better on that. It's not a bad track. Carry Me Like a Fire in Your Heart. It's got a drum machine on. Why do you need a drum machine when you got Peter Van Hook on drums? Sounds so much like Lady in Red as well. Tender Hands, one of the best tracks on here. It's a bit of ABBA-esque as well. It's got that ABBA feel to it. Not too bad. A Night on the River. Great vocal from Chris on this one. Isn't too bad. I don't mind that track, in all honesty. Then we have Leather on My Shoes. Another reasonably good track. Great vocal. Chris's vocals have never really changed. Suddenly Love, we fall back into full-on 80s production. Yeah, not very good. The Simple Truth, A Child Is Born. The horrible drum machine on it. It sounds probably better. Or is it electronic drums? I don't know. It's just, ugh, dear. Missing You. Horrible, cheesy. I don't like that track at all. I'm Not Scared. One of the best songs on here. It's got a lovely acoustic guitars on this, and it's a great vocal from Chris. Don't Look Back. horrible in our 80s intro, but it has got a really good guitar solo. But my favourite track on here is Just a Word Away. Again, it's because it's no overproduced. It's a very simple arrangement. It was a great vocal, and I do like that. The Risen Lord, the piano on it is super. It's a nice song again, and Chris sings very well on that. The Last Time I Cried. This is it's okay. I think the drums need to be a little bit more fuller, but it could be a very good track. To be quite honest, I think this is probably one of the better tracks of that, better albums of that late 80s albums. Got some really good tracks on here, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 4.6. Okay, coming in at number 19, 15th album from 2004, The Road to Freedom. So you've got Chris de Burgh on vocals and acoustic piano and guitars, Chris Cameron acoustic piano, Peter Gordino on keyboards, Phil Palmer as ever on guitars, Rick Mitterer on the bass, Danny Cummins on the drums, and Gavin Wright is the orchestral leader, and Isabel Griffiths is the orchestral contractor. So the first track is When the Winter Comes. This is more of a little instrumental thing, but towards the end there is a nice little bit of vocal, and it's quite pleasant. The Road to Freedom, very Celtic in places. But it does lack something, but it's still got that Celtic sound. Snow is Falling. It's quite good. It's a good track. It's got some nice guitars, the strings and orchestra, very good. The Words I Love, my favourite track on here, because it's just a lovely, it's a great vocal, it's a great arrangements and a really nice song, and the words are really good. Songbird, another great track. It's got the strings and the guitars always seem to make it sound good. Past Five Dreams. It's pleasant enough. It's nothing special, but it's okay. Here For You. It's okay again. It just, some of these tracks all sound the same. What Do You Mean to Me? This is quite good. There's a little bit of variation on this. There's some accordion thrown in there. That's pretty good. Rose of England's okay, but it does lack a bit of depth. It's quite shallow in places. For a 5-minute song, you need something extra. The Journey, again, it just needs a little bit extra somewhere just to make it sound better. Read My Name. I like this because it's got the variation. It's got a little bit more depth, which the last two tracks really needed. Nothing wrong with this album, it just lacks a little bit of substance in places. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 18, the 6th album from 1982, The Gateway. Chris that sings and does guitars and a piano. Rupert Hine is on the synthesizers. David Craddock's on piano, Phil Palmer, of course, on the guitars, Tim Weaven on acoustic guitars, John Giblin's back doing the bass and fretless brass, Steve Negus on the drums, Anthony Thistlethwaite saxophones, along with Stephen W. Taylor on saxophones and woodwinds. We've got Nigel Warren Green on the cello, we've got Anthony Head voice, the actor, Diane Davidson, Miriam Stockley, who's done backing vocals with Brian May and Sue Wilkinson. First track is my favourite track on here, and it's one of his very well known ones, and it's Don't Pay the Ferryman. I quite like this. The guitar works very good on this, and although it's still very 80s, it's one of the best tracks from the 80s. Living on the Island. I like the bass line on this from John Giblin. Absolutely terrific. It's a bit 80s, but it's still got that great bass line. Crying and Laughing. It's a good song, but the drums are too smooth. I'm Counting on You. Don't like that track at all. It's not very good. The Getaway. Forget that cheesy keyboard at the beginning. I like the arrangements. The cheesy keyboard, that 80s keyboard, Ship to Shore is so 80s, it's the worst track on the album. All the Love I Have Inside, alright, lovely arrangements, but it's the drums that let it down. Borderline, great vocal from Chris, I don't mind that one at all. Where Peaceful Waters Fill, this is horrible, cheesy, don't like the backing vocals either. Ugh. The Revolution, a short little thing, but it's old style Chris de Burgh and I like that. Light a Fire, it's okay, the drums just need to be a little bit more richer and it would be an excellent track. Liberty, some lovely flute on here, the drums even sound good. It's a pretty solid track. It's not a bad album really, it's still over from the, still got that 80s tinge to it, although it's the start of the 80s. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.2. Okay, coming in at number 17, from 2012, Home. This album features acoustic recordings of 14 lesser songs from Chris's back catalogue. So we've got Christopher on vocals and piano and guitars, Nigel Hopkins keyboards and accordion string arrangements, Neil Taylor, Phil Palmer on guitars, David Levy on the bass, Tony Kiley's doing some percussion, Steve Sidwell on the trumpet, and Chris Porter backing vocals. Okay, the first track is a track called Waiting for the Hurricane. Now this is on a compilation called Best Moves. It's really nice, excellent track. Then from Flying Colours he does a version of Tender Hands and that is good, very good. Right, from Into the Light, I had Fatal Hesitation. I didn't like the cheesy version, but the acoustic version is fine. It proves what a good song it is. In this form it's fantastic. Love and Time from Time Is Everything, and these are really good. Then from Eastern Wind Sailor, I like the track anyway, but it's great as an acoustic. But the best song on here is from the Gateway. I don't like the original, but the acoustic is beautiful. Again, it just shows what a great song, and it's Living on the Island. Excellent. Such a Long Way to Go from Crusader. I love the song anyway, and it's just a nice interpretation of it. Where Will We Be Going from the Power 10? It's not too bad. Forevermore it's from the Love Songs compilation. It's one of the best songs on here. It's a really nice vocal. Fire on Water from Into the Light sounds much better like this. So does Suddenly Love. And then at the end of The Perfect Day we have I Will. It's a great track anyway. I'm Not Scared Anymore from Flying Colour sounds much better as an acoustic. And from Far Beyond the Castle Was Good Night. It's always a nice thing. I like this album. I think it just proves some of them 80s songs sound much better as an acoustic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Right, I need a drink. It's no good. Okay, coming up at number 16 then, the 12th album from 1995, and it's called Beautiful Dreams. This is a collection of songs recorded with a full orchestra, and it includes songs from previous albums again, and 3 new songs and 3 covers. So from Flying Colours with an orchestra, Missing You, and this is super, it really works. Then we have from the Beatles, Girl. He does a nice job of that. Sounds quite different with the orchestra. It's a great vocal from Chris on that. Carry Me Like a Fire on Your Heart, another song from Flying Colours that sounds so good with the orchestra. Forget the 80s nonsense. Really strong song. Discovery at the end of The Perfect Day, which is a great album anyway, which we'll talk about later, and that song is excellent as well. The Snows of New York from This Way Up. Pretty cool as an orchestral piece. In Love Forever. It's a new song. There's nothing wrong with this one. It's a really strong vocal from Chris. Shine On from the Power of 10. We'll look at that. Then he does Lady in Red. Now, You know how much I hate this song, but this is the best version of the song. Then he does a cover version of In Dreams from Roy Orbison, and it's not too bad. A new song now, I'm Not Crying Over You. It's okay. I tell you, he sounds like Dennis Roussos. Yeah. Always on My Mind, which is, of course, a cover version, and it's very good. Say Goodbye to It All from Into the Light sounds much better like this. Go One More Mile, the new song. Out of 3, it's the pretty mediocre one. I think this is really good. It's got the best version of Lady in Red on it for starters, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 5.6. Okay, coming in at number 15 is from 2011, and it's Footsteps 2. It's a collection of cover songs that he's done. So Chris de Burgh is on the vocals, Nigel Hopkins is keyboards and arrangements, Phil Palmer as ever on the guitars, Ed Poole on the bass. You've got Jeff Dugmore on the drums, Jacko Jalvansky on harmonica, Gavin Fitzjohn on the horns, Jeffrey Richardson does the strings, Susan Barbarelli, Django Jayskick and Vula Malinga on backing vocals. So the first cover he does is While You See a Chance, written by Steve Winwood. No. Not very good. Let It Be, Beatles course. He doesn't do a bad version of that. Then he does for Mike and the Mechanics, The Living Years, and he does a really, really good version of it. Then he has to go at Blue Bayou. Yeah, I don't like this version at all. Then he has a bash up ABBA's SOS. Doesn't work. Then he does a band called Carrot and their song Seven Bridges. I like this. I've heard the original and it's pretty good. Lady Madonna from the Beatles. He does an excellent version of that. Time in a Bottle from Gene Croc. I don't like that version. And then there's an original song on here called Already There. It's not too bad. Then we have Elvis Presley's In the Ghetto. Not one of my favourite Elvis Presley songs, and I'm not very keen on this either. Then he does the best cover on this album. It's from the Doobie Brothers, and it's the fantastic Long Train Running. He does a fantastic version of it. Excellent. And then the Christmas song on Oh Christmas Night. Obviously this came out at Christmas, and it's not too bad. I don't mind that. And then we have another original, Every Step of the Way, and I'd say it's the best new song on this album. The acoustic guitar on this is fantastic. Then the Footsteps theme, it's okay. A typical covers album, but he has done some really good covers on this, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 5.7. Okay, then coming in at number 14, the 10th album from 1992, Power of 10. So Chris doing vocals, backing vocals, and there's a bit of guitar on it. Rupert Hine does the keyboards. Danny McBride is on electric guitars. Jeffrey Richardson acoustic guitars. Jamie West Oram on electric guitars. John Giblin on the bass. Michael Witzel on the drums. Tim Sanders saxophones. We've got the Chieftains, the band Chieftains doing various instruments. Paddy Maloney does some arrangements. Backing vocals again, Miriam Stockley and Linda Taylor. First track, my favourite track, Where Will You Be Going? It's got a real Celtic feel to this, and I love the drumming on this. It's excellent. Be My Side, lots of nice keyboards, even some accordions, which was probably done by the Chieftains. It's pretty good, works beautifully. Hark of Darkness, nothing wrong with this. I think it's got a very cool instrumental bits on it. Really good. In Your Eyes, what a great track with a super solo on it. Separate Tables, sounds too much like In Your Eyes. Talk to Me, this lacks something, I don't know what it is, it's a bit thin. And then we have the Connemara Coast with the Chieftains, nice track, love all the mandolins on that. Brother John, something left over from the 80s. It's that cheesy keyboard. Shine On and Nair, very cheesy keyboard on it. Not a particular favourite of me. A Celebration, it's not too bad. She Means Everything to Me. That's pretty cool. I don't mind that. The Making of the Perfect Man. This isn't too bad. One of the best songs on the album, and it's got an excellent guitar solo thrown in that. Yeah, definitely a mixed bag here. There's some songs that just don't do it for me. They all sound the same. But some of the songs, I love some of the arrangements, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 13 from 2014, The Hands of Man. Chris de Burgh is on vocals and piano and guitars. Nigel Hopkins keyboards and orchestrations. Phil Palmer's back on the guitars along with Neil Taylor. We've got Jeffrey Richardson on the tenor, banjo, viola and violin. Ed Pauls does the bass. Jeff Dugmore on the drums. Jay Craig bass clarinet. Mark White trumpet. Jake Skin on backing vocals, and Fionn Wilkins as well. The first track is the title track, The Hands of Man. Nice arrangement. I love the strings. It's the highlight and it gives it a bit of warmth. My favourite track on this one is There Goes My Heart Again. Chris de Burgh, quirky little song, great vocal. Big City Sundays. I do like the lyrics on this. It's a very nice story and it's a great vocal. Love that. Where Would I Be? Really good track. It's got some nice piano and acoustic guitars. Really good. The Ghost of Old King Richard, one of my favourite tracks on here. It's very folky. He writes some really good songs, and that is an excellent one. The Candlestick. It's got that Celtic feel, especially with the drumming. Excellent little track. Through These Eyes. I like the vocals from Chris on this one. The best vocals on the album. The Keeper of the Keys. It's acoustic. It's one of my favourites. I think the guitar arrangements are super on this. Meridian, it's one of them gentle piano tracks with a nice bit of clarinet and a great vocal. Sunset, nice melody, typical sort of Chris de Burgh song, really strong song as well. Letting Go, it's probably the weakest on here, but it's still a good track, if you get my meaning. It's not my favourite track on here. When the Dream Is Over, I just don't like this. It's just something about it. Empty Rooms, nothing to do with Gary Moore. It's a nice real track as well. The Bridge, it's got a great guitar solo on it and some great piano pieces. The Fields of Agincourt, it's a little bit too long, but it's got a nice feel to it. One More Goodbye, it's a jazzy bluesy number and it's a great song to end the album. This is a very good album. There's so many. I mean, if it was a lot shorter catalogue, this would be well up. But because there's so many, it's at number 13. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.3. Okay then, coming in at number 12. 13th album from 1999, Quiet Revolution. Lots of people playing on here, so we'll go straight to the tracks. When I Think of You, a very simple song, but it works. Simple arrangements always do it for me, and I like the song anyway. Love of the Heart Divine. The piano on this is super. It's a real nice song. Living in the World, not a big fan of this. The only good thing about it is the piano playing. The Same Sun, great song. The strings lifted and you've got the accompaniment of the acoustic guitar. Excellent track. Nothing Happens Around Here, quirky little song. Love the guitar riff in this, and it's a super little vocal from Chris. A Woman's Heart, bit mediocre. It's pleasant enough. The Last Moments of Dawn is so dreary. Sends you to sleep. It just does nothing for me. I've Seen You Everywhere. Sounds too much like The Last Moment of Dawn. Oof. And then my favourite track on here is a thing called St. Peter's Gate. Good old Chris de Burgh sound. Storytelling. Nice tones. great track. You Look Beautiful. It's one of them songs, if it hadn't got the strings on it, it'd be quite a dull song. I Want It, and I Want It Now. It's got the best guitar solo on the album. It's quite a quirky vocal as well. Natasha Dance, very pastiche. I love it. I love these sort of songs. The River of Abraham, pretty decent. Nice vocal from Chris on that one. My Lover Is, but it needs a bit more percussion on it. It sort of lacks a little bit of Quiet Revolution. It's got one of the best vocals from Chris on this. It's a super track to end the album. Again, it's just a very good album with some really good tracks on it. You can't go wrong with any. There's always at least one or two good tracks on a Chris de Burgh album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 11 is Footsteps. It's 2 new songs and some more covers. And the first one is called First Steps. It's a little short piece on the piano and it is brilliant. Then the next one is Turn, Turn, Turn. Originally done by Pete Seeker, but the Birds have covered it and the Seekers have. And it's a very good version of this song. I mean, it's a great song. Then we have The Long and Winding Road. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Beatles version of this. It's not one of my favourite Beatles songs, and this doesn't do anything at all. Then we have Toto's Africa, and it's a decent version of it. Then we have a song originally done by Badfinger, but it's Harry Nilsson's version that really took it to new lengths, and that's Without You. All I'll say is it's better than Mariah Carey's version. You can't beat Harry Nilsson's version, although Badfingers is good. It's quite a sad song as well. Then we have a Pete Seeger song. It's my favourite on here, Where All the Flowers Are Gone. I think he's done a fantastic version of it. Sealed with a Kiss. The 4 voices in the original is Brian Hyland's done it as well. I don't mind this. Even Jason Donovan on about that, didn't he? Blackbird by the Beatles, of course, and it's one of the nicest versions I've heard of this song. Then they do We Can Work It. He does We Can Work It Out. Does this one justice? And then he has a go at Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. Bob's is good, Jimmy's is brilliant, but this is terrible. Then Karina Karina, which was done by Charlie McCoy. This is good as the original. Excellent track. Rhythm of the Rain, or Crying in the Rain. The Cascades, most famous by the Everly Brothers. It's not a bad version of it. And then there's a little thing called Polly Von, which was done by Peter, Paul and Mary, and he does a good version of that. Then he does American Pie, which is not very good. The Last Thing on My Mind from Tom Paxton, very good song, but I prefer Tom Paxton's version. The Bells of Christmas, nice Christmas song. You Never Walk Alone from Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. I don't like this song. I don't like the Jerry and the Pacemakers version either. I don't like the song full stop. And then we have Footsteps. What I do like about this covers album, there's a lot of tracks that no one's covered. It's a pretty good covers album actually. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6.6. So we've moved into the top 10, and I think these are the essential albums to give you gives you a full of Chris's career. So coming in at number 10, we have the 18th album released in 2010. It's Moonfleet and Other Stories. This album is in 2 parts, including the story of Moonfleet, which is excellent, based on the J. Mead Faulkner novel, which I have read. It's excellent. And then 6 other tracks just called Other Stories. So lots of people on here. So the Moonfleet thing, we got the Moonfleet Overture, Grandeur, nice overture. The Village of Moonfleet, which is narration, and then The Light of the Bay. It's a really good. I love the guitars on this. Have a Care, again the guitar and the piano works. Then we have the narration of for 2 days and nights. Go Where Your Heart Believes. I love the strings on this. It's a great vocal from Chris as well. The Escape. It's certainly got that Cornish feel to it in the violin. Very, very good. And So It Was more narration. And then The Days of Our Age. It's got church organ. The harmonies are excellent. Super track. Very short. The Secret of the Locket. The percussion really lifts this. The guitars are really good. It's got that, certainly that folky feel to it, with a heavy heart, more narration. My Heart's Surrender. Combination of guitar and horns works very well. Treasure and Betrayal, my favourite track on here. Again, it's just the guitar work. Such a nice track. Moonfleet Bay. You suddenly got the feeling that you are at sea. The percussion takes like a boat swaying. Excellent. The Storm. Proper sea shanty here. The guitars are... It's singing in a pub with a log fire time. Great to love. Fantastic piece of music. The piano and the strings work wonderfully in the years that followed the narration. The Moonlit Finale really lets it down. It just takes away from the rest of the story. So we've got the other stories. Everywhere I Go. My second favourite track on here is Move In. Some nice words to that one. The Nightingale. Strings and piano work well on that. Excellent track. One Life, One Love. Sounds too much like the others. It's not as good as the first two. Why Mona Lisa Smiled. It's okay. Pure Joy. Not very good. It's really weak. Bit of a filler track. And People of the World. Yeah, again, filler. Personally, I wouldn't have bothered with the short stories. I would have just called it Moonfleet. I think this would have been a little higher up if it was just the Moonfleet. But Moonfleet, you know, if you read the book, you can follow the songs and what's going on. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.7. Okay, coming at number 9. 21st album, released in 2016, A Better World. Chris de Burgh on vocals, acoustic, pianos and guitars. Nigel Hopkins on keyboards. Graham Kearns and Phil Palmer do the guitars. Jennifer Maiden on the Daboro, mandolin, ukulele and bass guitar. Danny Cummins on drums. Mark Wout, trumpet and flugelhorn. Jeffrey Richardson plays some violin. And Jacko Jakes and Fionn Wilkins do the backing vocals. So the first track on here is a very short opening piece for strings and pianos called Hope in the Human Heart. My favourite track on here is a thing called Bethlehem. It's got a rocky riff to it. It's an excellent track. It's a really good track. Once in a Lifetime. It's got a very Latino feel to it because of the horns at the beginning. Gives you that sort of Spanish sort of feel as well. The Open Door. I like this. The middle bit when the orchestra comes in is great. It gets quite rocky as well. Heart and Soul. His voice hasn't changed at all. It's still got that gentle voice. It's a lovely acoustic guitar on this as well. Chain of Command. The lyrics to this is about someone giving their life to their country. It's a great song. Love that. It's quite moving. Confession. It's got a country feel to it. It's a nice country sort of thing. Homeland. This starts very quiet and then halfway it comes to life. It's really good. The drums that does it. It's really good. Cry No More. Lovely strings and piano and a great vocal from Chris. Shipboard Romance. Very of a sea shanty thing like that. Falling Rain. One of the weaker tracks on here, not the best. All for Love. The words are really good on that. It's a nice song as well. Hold On, I'm On My Way. Country, it's a country song style, really good. The Land of the Free, very Irish, some nice violin. And the last track, The Soldier. Love this song, the lovely arrangement with piano horns. Very good album. There's a couple of filler tracks on, but on the whole, it's pretty impressive. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 8. 11th album from 1994, This Way Up. This features Chris de Burgh, of course, Victor Martin on keyboards, Neil Taylor guitar, Phil Spaulding on additional rhythm and vocals, Jimmy Copley on drums, Stephen McDonald on the brass, Nick Ingram strings, the London Session Orchestra, backing vocals Peter Smith and Hannah Clive. The Silent World opens up this one, one of the heaviest tracks that Chris has done. It's heavy, it's a great riff. This is Love. My favourite track on this, considering it's a love song, it's a pretty good one. The Weight on Me reminds me of the Pretenders off their debut album. Very good. Here is Your Paradise. Not a big fan of this. Very wishy-washy. Oh My Brave Hearts. Quite good. The middle bit is quite rocky. Blonde hair, blue jeans, good little rocker. It's got an excellent saxophone solo on it as well. The Son and the Father, great track. Love the piano and strings. Up Here in Heaven, another good track. It's a great vocal from Chris. You Are the Reason. Not a big fan of this one. Love's Got a Hold of Me. I love this. I like the funky sound on it. It's a good rock song for Chris. The Snows of New York. It's got the end of the album syndrome. I don't like this one. I really like this album. It's got a couple of wishy-washy ones on it, but on the whole it's an excellent album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.2. Time for another drink. Right, coming in at number 7, 14th album from 2002, Timing Is Everything. Chris de Burgh, of course, Peter Giordano on keyboards, James Nesbitt on guitars, Phil Palmer on guitars, Rick Meter bass and drums, T Green backing vocals along with Shelley Nelson, and guest vocalist is Elisa Gaudry on Lebanese Night. First track is called Guilty Secret. I love the harmony singing on this. It's excellent. Love the drum and bass on that. If Beds Could Talk. Quirky little track. I love the drumming and the guitars and the vocals. They're quite amusing. Lebanese Night, which features, of course, Alessia Caudry. Really nice. They complement each other. It's a lovely song. Time Is Everything. Solid track. Very uplifting. Got some nice guitar work on this. There's a Room in This Heart Tonight. Love the keyboard sound. It's got sounds like a little bit of Hammond organ in there, and always wakes me up. That one does. She Must Have Known. Quirky, nice beat. Then we have The Best That Love Can Be. One of my favourite ballads. I love that. And then my favourite track on it is a thing called Bal Mask. The guitar work and the rolling drums is excellent. Love and Time. Not a big fan of this. Please Pass Me a Bucket. Another Rainbow, really nice song. I love the bit of percussion on it as well. Save Me, quirky track to end the album. As I've said, what I like about Chris de Burgh, his vocals do not change regardless if it's his first album or his last album. Pretty solid album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, coming in at number 6. From 2006, 16th album, The Storyman. The album is a collection of songs with accompanying stories. Lots of people play on here, so we'll get cracking. The Storyman theme, nice gentle piece, really good. One World, I like the I think there's a bit of congos and bongos on this. Very good vocal from Chris. Leningrad, great vocal. The lyrics are fantastic. The strings really work. My Father's Eyes. This has got one of them Middle Eastern feels to it. I love the sound of the percussion on this. It's excellent. The Grace of a Dancer. A very moving track. Very nice words. One of my favourite tracks on the album. Spirit. Excellent vocal from Chris on this. The guitar work on this is exceptional. And the simple percussion. You don't need anything special. Just keep the beat going. It's excellent. The Shadow of the Mountain. really good. And then there's a track called Raging Storm, which features Christina Miles on vocals. Again, it's a lovely duo. The strings are fabulous on this. The Mirror of the Soul, really good track. Atmospheric. The bells, it's real haunting. It's a long track, but you never feel that it's long. The Sweetest Kiss of All, bit wishy-washy, not a big fan. The Storyman, I love the drumming on this. And then there's another version of My Father's Eyes with Hani Hussein. And they're both good versions, but this is the best. I think this is his best album for a long time. It really goes back to his sort of roots and his stories. It's got the orchestral on this is brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, we're now going back into old Chris de Burgh. So this is his third album from 1977, At the End of a Perfect Day. Lots of people on here. So the first track is Broken Wings, really nice song. I love the acoustic guitars on this. It's a super track. Round and Around, harmonies are great. And you could sing this as a round, as the song says. It's a lovely tune. I Will, one of my favourite tracks. The harmony singing is wonderful on this. Summer Rain, a lovely track. I like the guitars, I like the clarinets and horns. It's just a great track. Discovery, it's just acoustic, piano, a little bit of string and a great vocal. You don't need much more. Brazil, very ambient, love that. In a Country Churchyard, Let Love Shine, not a fan of this. Doesn't do anything for me. A Rainy Night in Paris, the piano and saxophone sound magnificent together. If You Really Love Her, Let Her Go. Simple song, really nice vocals, a great vocal as well. On the Perfect Day, it starts gentle piano and it just builds up, and it's got a fantastic guitar solo at the end. This is an excellent album, some cracking tracks on this. I do listen to this, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.6. Coming in at number 4 then, from 1979, the fourth album, Crusader. Some interesting people on here. Chris de Burgh, of course. Mike Moran, acoustic piano and synthesizers. Francis Monkman plays harpsichord. Andrew Powell on guitars. Ian Barneson on electric guitars. David Payton, bass. Chris Lawrence, string bass. Stuart Elliott, drums. David Cripps, French horn. Shakila Kanga, the harp. Olive Simpson and vocals. Great musicians on here. Carry On is the first track. I like this. You get this little bit of a speech in there, and the guitar work is fab. I Had the Love in Your Eyes. It's a really good ballad. I love that song. Something Else Again. It's another ballad, but it's got a killer guitar solo on it. Then we have my favourite track on here, and it's called The Girl with April in Her Eyes. It's not just because it's got Francis Monkman playing harpsichord, but that harpsichord just adds to it. He was a fine musician. It's very English, this track. Wonderful track. Just in Time. I love the tempo. The drum is a little bit different. The guitar works, especially the electric, works well. Carry On, you have a little reprise, a little piano. The Devil's Eye. You got a big mixture of acoustic and electric guitars on, and it really holds the track together. In Such a Long Way from Home, one of my favourite tracks. Really good. Old Fashioned People, strings, piano, that's all you need, and a great vocal. Lovely track. Quiet Moments, it's very soft and quaint. Crusader, second favourite track on here. It's probably one of the best vocals from Chris. Tells a story. You just love tracks like that. Then You and Me, a really nice string and piano piece again. Very short but entertaining. Excellent album. Very underrated album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.8. Coming in at number 3 then. The fifth album from 1980. Eastern Wind. Lots on here. So The Traveller, fantastic, one of my favourites. It's got a great bass line, super track. The Record Company Bash, it's got a bit of a reggae beat to it and I quite like it. The bass line on this is fabulous. Tonight, one of his best ballads. It's a super song. Nice words as well. Wall of Silence, my favourite track on here. It's got meaty riffs. Then you get some gentle guitar on it and it's really good. Flying Home comes next. Another great track. Got a great backing vocal, some nice riffs on it. Pretty good. Shadows and the Lights, good little rock track. Bass line's good. It's pretty heavy for Chris. Sailor, I love this track. I love it as an acoustic, but this has got strings and the keyboards and it really is a good strong track. Some Things Never Change, I do like the electric piano on it. It's a mediocre track. Tourist Attraction, it's a very funky track. It's very Stevie Wondery funky. I like that. And the title track, Eastern Wind, is the last track. A great track. The bass does dominate this. Some lovely electric piano. To me, this is probably one of the last classic Chris de Burgh albums. It went a bit wrong after this one, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So coming in at number 2 is the debut album from 1974, Far Beyond These Castle Worlds. And the title refers to Bargy Castle, which is on the back of the cover. Lots of people on here, so Hold On is the open one. It's a nice song, gentle. Great vocal from Chris on that. The key, I love the harpsichord at the beginning of this. And then we've got some accordion, some clarinet. It's a super vocal. Windy Night, probably one of the best tracks on here. Love the guitar work on here. Then we have Sin City, which is my favourite track. It's got a lot of grunt to this. It's quite heavy as well. That's pretty cool. New Moon, second favourite track on here. I love the brush drums on it. I love brush drums. Really gives it that bit of atmosphere. Watching the World. Slide guitar, violin, country rock. It's not too bad. Lonesome Cowboy. I love this. It's a cowboy song and Chris does a great verse. Lovely lyrics. Great track. Saint in Green Shutters. Nice song. It does go on a little bit towards the end, but it's still a good track. Turning Around, the drumming on this is the best thing about it. The piano's perfect. And then Good Night, the last track. I love this. It's a great track to the end, and it's a really nice piece. An excellent debut album. You can tell this guy had got some talent, and the songwriting is fantastic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. But my favourite album and my number one is the second album released in '75 called Spanish Train and Other Stories. So the first track is Spanish Train. This is more of a storytelling with music. Chris puts a lot into this, and it gets you hooked. Lonely Sky, one of my favourite songs on here. I think this is one of the best vocals he ever did. It's a beautiful song, sung really well. This song is for you. It's another song that's more, it's a story, it's really good. Then we have this lovely little quirky thing called Patricia the Stripper. The clarinet is wonderful, it tells a story. It's got the solo on the clarinet is wonderful. Then we have my favourite track by Chris de Burgh. It's A Spaceman Came Travelling. They played at Christmas. I don't think it's a Christmas song personally, but it's just classic. I love the electric piano at the beginning, the harmony vocals. It's just one excellent track. I'm Going Home comes next. I love the piano on this. I love the quirkiness of it. It's an excellent track. The Painter, another of those songs which is a story telling with a bit of the music is the secondary. The story is the primary. Old Friend, lovely clarinet on this. Beautiful playing. on the piano, excellent track. The Tower, love this track. The acoustic guitar is gentle. It flows beautifully. It's 5 minutes 22, but you just don't know it. Just Another Poor Boy. The drumming on this is short, sharp, and the vibration of them drums really adds to it. You can hear all that. It's a great track to end the album. I think this is a great album. It's very underrated. It's got some of the best songs that Chris ever wrote. It's very hard to beat this one, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. So there we go. Quite a long one today, and quite a interesting career. You got the first 4 or 5 albums excellent, then he went through that 80s sounding phase, and he gradually got better, you know, and he went into the more strings and that. So he's had a good career, and his voice has not changed one little bit throughout it. Okay, that's all for today. Tomorrow we have got a pick and mix. And what are we doing tomorrow? 20th of March 1958, UK, and then Dave and I will do a review of the quarter-finals of Battle Royale. So have a good day, everyone. Bye for now.